Be really heavy. That would have been good on the James Bond.
Goldfinger.
Yeah, that would have been good. Good villain plane.
Was that a terrific movie?
That was great.
Yeah.
1970.
How great was it, Trump?
Oh, it was one of the, Dr. No, obviously. Dr. No was probably the best. Sean Connery. Sean Connery was the best one. Roger Moore could get with that. I mean, he's fine. Pierce Brosnan, one of the best, but I think Sean Connery, everyone talks about Sean Connery. Everyone is.
Dude, that's friggin' perfect.
This is the Mostly Middle Tennessee Business Podcast, a podcast about Middle Tennessee business owners and professionals. Mostly.
So, Jared, what secret conspiracy would you like to start?
UFOs, Bigfoot, anything you want to talk about, we can definitely talk about. JFK.
Secret conspiracy that you would like to start, though. What would you want to start?
Secret conspiracies. There's so many. It's hard to tell which are and are not conspiracies anymore.
It really is.
Do you have any favorite topics of your own?
If I had to come up with one off the top of my head, I wouldn't be able to. This is how uncreative I'm feeling these days. Have you heard the one about lizard people and stuff that in the government?
Yeah, that's definitely a fun one. Pizzagate, how it all ties in. There's a lot of fun little stories you can go on with the YouTube Wikipedia research out there.
You strike me as someone who would be creative in thinking that way, because I brought you on because I want to talk about creativity and personality in business, because you've been part of our B&I chapter for about a month or two now.
Yeah, started 1 January.
And you've done the most probably spot on Donald Trump impersonation I have ever heard.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't even think about it because I just thought to myself, we got what, 73 people in there right now, and it's 30 seconds that you get, and it's hard to remember stuff. And then I'm going through the B&I all the podcasts and how to stand out and things like that. And I said, you know what? I've always joked about how property managers have to wear so many hats.
Right.
And I don't know why, but I've always collected hats and cooking aprons and cutting boards. So I figured, you know what? Let's do the hat shtick. Let's try that out. And so I didn't have a hat the first day. I just thought to someone handed me the microphone, and so I just
it just came out of you. Was that the first time you did it?
No, not. I mean, just friends and family, whatever. But I wasn't planning on doing it. But it was it was not the State of the Union, but it was the speech that Donald Trump gave a few weeks ago. And I had my buddies over because whenever we have a State of the Union, I have them over and we have what's called the Steak of the Union. Yeah. And so we'll grill steaks and have a good time and just, it's our sports, right? It's just another sports thing for us. But I figured, you know what? That was really funny to watch last night. Might as well just do a Donald Trump impersonation talking about how great Richland is. And it kind of stood out. They were calling me Mr. President afterwards and all that. So,
that was the first time you tried it?
I said, as a spiel, as a shtick,
But I mean, you nailed it. I mean, is this something that you're able to do? Is that part of your personality, listening to people and mirroring them?
I don't know why I didn't plan on it, but you can. It's just doing a caricature, it's emphasizing the quirkiness thing, that just the small things that people do, and then you can emphasize on it, and that's what creates the.
Now everybody that's listening is going, okay, let's hear how it sounds.
Well,
put you on the spot.
Well, thank you, Jim. Everyone's talking about how great Richland is. Everyone's talking about it. I told the guy next to me, Jason, what we're going to do is we're going to build a great wall around Brentwood to keep all you Franklin people out, and then we're going to get Antioch to pay for it.
That's pretty damn good.
Sorry.
I mean, that's one of those things that you should probably put yourself out there as an impersonator, because there are people that would pay you for it.
Yeah. You just can't impersonate police officers. They frown on that.
Right. Yeah. I guess you're probably not. I mean, not many notable police officers out there that are in the public lexicon, so to speak. Yeah.
And generally the personalities are quite blasé, so it's hard to get the caricatures on that one. But it's just fun. There's so many in my business. You get to meet so many people.
Yeah.
And you're in tons of houses, people from all walks of life. and it's just fun. I just love characters. I've always loved people that are from other places.
Yeah.
You know,
he definitely has a lot of nuance to his voice, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been able to come up with impersonations based on other people's impersonations. That's my special talent.
Okay.
So as soon as I hear it from somebody else, or, Frank Caliendo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He talked about doing like a Morgan Freeman impersonation. He does amazing impersonations.
Yeah, he kind of fell off the earth for a while, didn't he?
He kind of pops up. He was doing a TikTok thing for a while, an Instagram Reels thing for a while, where he was showing you how he does, his Robert Downey Jr., Morgan Freeman. He does Trump as well. And Jay Moore is another one who's amazing at characters and impersonations. But like everybody knew me because I could do Christopher Walken.
Oh,
really
yeah.
well.
Okay.
But it's like become kind of saturated.
Right.
Like
There's
everybody
a lot
can
of
do
Walkens, yeah.
Walken. It's not that hard.
No. Yeah.
You got to do the little, you got to talk like this, like random punctuation in different parts of the sentence with no rhythm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I do love a good Walken impersonation. Liar, liar, pants on fire.
Skittles, fruit flavors. Tropical, mango.
Yeah. Yeah,
grape.
that's it.
So, I actually, when I was working in Vegas, I did dueling Walken impersonations with Jay Moore.
No way.
One of my claims to like semi-fame.
Very cool.
I wish I had a recording of it somewhere. But he totally roasted me, which is awesome.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's a good time.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Who else have you come up with? I'm wanting to this is a talent of yours or just with Trump?
I don't know. I've always mostly just people that I know, if we're out all hanging out as friends, I can do a lot of my personal friends that are characters, which is good. But yeah, I don't know. It'll just come to me when I'm driving around like, oh, I guess I could, I don't know. I love making people laugh. It's one of my favorite things to do is laughter, especially in the property management industry where it's quite litigious. You have to find the humor where you can. And when we would just deal with crazy people, crazy owners and crazy tenants. And we have a lot
How
of...
crazy were they? I'm not, I'm going to do my bad attempt at a Trump.
Yeah.
You got to do the, what is it? The hands.
Nuts. Absolutely insane.
China.
Certifiable. We need to deport them all. And no, we've had tenants that have, they were upset about being evicted and have, lit mattresses on fire in the front yard. And she was throwing a music fest in the front yard and charging admission.
What?
All kinds of...
Really?
All kinds. We've had crazy stories or...
not a commercial property, residential.
This is all residential. Yeah. We don't do any commercial. So yeah, over the years, because I've been doing this since I was 17, there's war stories. I'll put it that way.
Right. I would only imagine because it's not an easy business for sure.
No, and I call it the bail bonds of the real estate industry. It's the glamour is in sales, right? That's where the big commissions are and things like that. But the sales market fluctuates like we're seeing now. We're seeing a downturn in the sales demand. And so people always have to live somewhere. Yeah. And even when the market's good and everyone's buying houses, we're still renting houses. And when the market's bad, that's when we're really renting houses. Yeah. So I always liked that part of the industry, but man, it's some wild stories. And we'll bring them up 10 years later. You run into an old coworker and be like, remember that guy? And they're just like, oh yeah, dude, that guy was nuts. Absolutely nuts.
I think every business, you're going to have notable clients in every business. I know we've had them. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if I've had it in the podcast space quite yet. But give it time.
Yeah.
Not so much in the voiceover space either. I can't think, nobody really comes to mind. So maybe I lucked out.
There you go.
So you came from Cali. You were born and grew up in California?
Yes. We were farmers in the Central Valley. So a little south of Fresno. We were from a little town called Reedley, California. And we grew on my father's side of the family. We grew tree fruit. So we had peaches, plums, nectarines, apricots, primarily, grapes, raisins. It's a big industry there. And then on my mother's side of the family, they had a feedlot for, we would raise dairy replacement heifers. And we ran about 4,500 head of Holsteins, about 500 head of Jerseys to resupply the dairies whenever they needed more cattle. We would, my grandfather, he kind of pioneered genetics and cattle and things like that. And he was one of the first guys to do AI, artificial insemination and things like that, just to create really superior genes. He actually sold a bull on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry back in the mid 80s.
Yeah.
So back when they did that. But yeah, so big farming. And my family has been there since they fled the Soviet Union in 1927, I believe, and then came to California and were farming tree fruit ever since.
Fled the Soviet Union.
Oh, I should have given you more of a back. Yeah.
So is your last name different?
Well, we were Mennonites. Okay. So Mennonite brethren, I'll put it that way. So we were in southern Russia and eastern Ukraine during it was whenever Catherine the Great brought them over to farm that land because the Soviet Union needed wheat, and we knew how to farm those areas. Mm-hmm. So they originally came after the Protestant Reformation. They came from the Netherlands and Germany, and then moved to Russia because Catherine the Great gave them the opportunity to farm their own land. They can be exempt from military service, and then they could govern themselves. Mm-hmm. And so they did that for 200 years, and until the Soviets took over, and my great grandfather wrote a book about it, but talks about how they came in and took their land, gave them quotas, and if they didn't meet their quotas, then off with their heads, kind of a thing. Oh. And it was all in the name of, interesting enough, social justice. And what they would do is they would take, if my great grandfather had 100 acres of land, they would say, okay, you get 50 acres of it, and then we're going to give 50 acres of it to the guy in town that doesn't have any land because it's unfair that you have 100 acres and he doesn't have any.
Right.
Well, then what they would do is you still have the same quotas of wheat that you had to produce.
Just half the land.
Yeah, just half the land. And then you weren't allowed to lease the property back from this guy who they gave your land to. That was illegal. That's his land. And the problem is that guy didn't have any money to farm the land. So
it would just go to crap?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And people would go missing all the time. There were pogroms. There were all kinds of that. And so they were this worldwide organization called the Mennonite Central Committee, or MCC, and they sponsored my great-grandparents because they had to flee the Soviet Union. Some of my other relatives tried to do it the right way, so they went to Moscow to get permits, and they were just never heard from again. And then, so my great-grandfather took his family and went all the way across Russia and then fled over the Amur River into China. And that's where my grandmother was born, in China, because they had to wait there 2 years in order to get the proper sponsorship to get to California through San Francisco. And really fascinating story, but you can see how history can potentially repeat itself in situations like that, just reading my great-grandfather's book about it. So we have a healthy suspicion of communism and all that.
Indices kind of rearing its ugly head.
Yeah. And then, we were, and in California, we were farmers, but I mean, there was a lot of regulation with the farming industry and one situation was, I remember the farmers talking about it was, dust pollution. Mm-hmm. Well, you can't create dust pollution. You can get fined for that. Well, we get 7 inches of rain per year. You drive a tractor through a field, you're going to create dust.
Yeah.
They're just like, well, what do you do? And we asked the county, well, what do you do? And they said, well, we got to water the whole field down before you drive a tractor through it. And we're just like, we can't do that because we're on water restrictions. So tell us what to do. And they said, we don't know. You figure it out. And so years and years of that, it's just, farming wasn't making any money back then because you didn't really have any control over the sales of the fruit. They'd have sales companies that would do that, and you just no control over what you're making on that. Farming is just so volatile. It's such I was talking to my dad this morning about it. It's a big gamble. It's a big gamble because a storm can just go in and,
knock you out.
Then you're done.
Yeah,
you're done all year.
Yeah, with farming, I would imagine redundancy has to come into play, therefore the acreage that you need. So if a certain section of land doesn't produce, at least you can rely on other sections, I would think. I'm not sure.
Yeah, the land was pretty good in the Central Valley. We had a soil called white ash. But also the Central Valley was a Great Lake at one time. And so it's very nutrient rich soil. Yeah. Problem is they're losing water like crazy in the Central Valley. I mean, you got to dig down 300, 400, 500 feet just to hit the aquifer now. I mean, back 20 years ago, you get, 100, 200 feet, you get in the aquifer, but all these guys have been pumping instead of using the the irrigation canals, and it's just sucking the water dry. So you got to dig down 600 feet, some of these guys, to get water for the next, because you want to have enough water 20 years from now. You don't have to dig another well.
Yeah.
So they're just losing water like crazy. I mean, all of my family pretty much, they don't farm anymore. They all got out of it. Event
spaces. Maybe it's, wedding events. And
there's that could always work.
Just a little getaway that's where that's generally the area that wine.
That was north of us.
Is it north?
That was north of us. Yeah.
So because I went to Paso Robles in October.
Yeah.
Is that north as well?
That's west of us. So we would go through Paso Robles to get to, because our beach that we would go to was like Avila Beach, Pismo Beach, San Luis Obispo's right there. That's our favorite places to go. But yeah, Paso Robles is that's going to be on the west coast of the Central Coast. But yeah, stunningly beautiful. It looks identical to southern Italy. So
because all the hills are very reminiscent of that.
Very similar.
Yeah,
similar.
We had no idea. We don't have too much experience with California. Did I do that right?
Yeah, that was really good.
Thank you. China. It was one of those things that we had gone out there. My wife and I never had been to wine country or anything like that. It was our first time, had a wine tasting. That was a story of stories. I mean, it was like a 2.5 hour, 3 hour family winery. And they had a wine tasting for 3 hours. And the first couple of wines, we're not exactly wine aficionados. We enjoy a good glass of red wine.
Oh, yeah.
But we have no idea what makes a good glass of wine or why a certain year is better than the other. As it turns out, it depends on, wetness and dryness of the years. It's as naive as I am, right, when it comes to this stuff. So we had quite the educational experience.
And
they kept on comparing later wines to the first three that they give us. I think the first one of them was a 2015, then a 2016, 2017. So decently aged wines. And they kept on, feeding us and stuff like that. And I'm going, she's like, well, now compare this wine. This is 2.5 hours in. Compare this wine that we just gave you to I'm like, lady, these things are all starting to taste the same. I mean, they're all running together, is there a palate cleanser? And the fact that, it's kind of going to my head. They're fantastic wines. How much? Just tell me how much at this point. What a sales process.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Get them lubed up and sock it to them.
Yeah. And then you're surrounded by beautiful views. And you think you're Sinatra himself sitting out there.
Oh, you get the credit card out.
Yeah, there you go. It's the good life. Stunningly beautiful out there, though. Central Coast, people always think of California as either, the Bay Area or LA. And Central Coast is one of my favorite places on earth. It's colder, the beaches are a little colder. The water's 55 degrees.
Is it always like that?
It's pretty darn cold all the time.
Yeah.
You got to wear a wetsuit.
Where does it start warming up? I would say San Diego.
Probably. Los Angeles isn't bad. San Diego's definitely warm.
Yeah.
Just keep on going to Mexico.
Once you get to Cabo and stuff like that,
you're warmer. Yeah, you don't want to go in the water in Cabo though. You'll kind of die. But
is it all cliffs and
since you're in the point right there, crazy riptides. I mean, I saw a video once. This guy just walking in knee-high water on they call it Dead Man's Beach or something like that. Really ominous sounding place.
Sounds like a good plea. Let's go there.
Yeah. Divorce. It was something
pack
crazy.
A picnic.
Yeah. And he got swept out just from being in knee-high water. So it's pretty, they tell you don't go out there, but it's colder. I mean, the first time we went to, because everyone goes to like Destin, Florida here. And the first time we went to Destin, it was, white sands and the water was warm and clear. And I thought, where? I mean, I didn't even know this was on the same planet. I couldn't believe it. I was just used to the California coast, but stunningly beautiful. Stunningly beautiful.
We had, always grew up with the Florida coast. And if you go down there, even if you went like in June or July to Ocean City, Maryland, which I guess would be on the same, latitude.
Okay.
Longitude is what? North-south, latitude is east-west, I believe. I want to say Maryland and stuff like that is on the same latitudes, maybe probably in that area where you grew up, San Luis Obispo, maybe in that area. But the water was always warm because it circulated clockwise.
Oh, yeah.
In the northern hemisphere, all the oceans circulate clockwise, so we were getting all the heated water from the south, from the equator.
Makes sense. That makes sense.
So you're getting all the water coming down from Alaska.
Yeah.
That's why it's cold.
And you feel it.
Oh, yeah. I would imagine. I'm always fascinated with that, though, to see how different parts of the earth work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what made you move here? You decided to just kind of, what was it about Tennessee that?
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of friends that were here already, a lot of church friends and stuff like that. And, California was just, the writing was on the wall with farming for us. And so we're, sold it and just uprooted. Dad got into insurance and he loved it because he didn't have to trudge around and hopefully you can pay the bank off at the end of the growing season. Quite a fun way to live. And he's been doing that ever since. They have their own company. And then I started at Crylike Property Management when I was like 17, because my sisters went to Brentwood High, but I was homeschooled. We were actually homeschooled in California, but then we moved here and went to they went to Brentwood High, but I wanted to stay homeschooled because I was done by 11:30 every day. And then I could go work for the company from 12:30 to 5:30, just running out signs and lock boxes and stuff like that. But I got to know the area. And so when I got my real estate license, I started doing sales over there and stuff and bought some rental properties. And this is this is fairly funny though. I got my license in November of 2007.
Right.
Like the perfect time to get your real estate license right before 2008.
Yeah. You can help all the people that wanted to buy the distressed properties.
Oh my gosh. That was the worst. Yeah.
Did you see that coming?
2007 and 8?
Yeah.
No, I was 17. That was the first. I was like, oh, great. I got my license. Now I saw 2005 and 6 is what I saw.
But did you know anybody in the business that saw the bubble that was happening? Like a Michael
They didn't
Burr?
want to admit it.
Really?
So that was the big thing was that I remember going to sales meetings and they would just say, when people ask you what the sales market's doing, you just tell them it's wonderful. And I was like, yeah, but there's no one's buying anything. So yeah, that was a wild time. I mean, it's funny because I bought a rental property in East Nashville for like $34,000. And then I bought two of them.
Was that right before or right after?
Oh, yeah, this is like 2008, like in the middle of like the worst time.
But at least you were able to get it on sale, man. I mean, that's...
It was wild. So, I mean, and then I bought two more on Cephas Street, which was North Nashville. So Buchanan and Rosa Parks. And paid $15,000 for one house and $17,000 for the house right next door. Jeez. And I thought to myself, wow, that's going to be great. Those will rent for $750 a month. Why wouldn't anyone do that? Mm-hmm. Well, I learned that the hard way. Mm-hmm. Like I had water heaters stolen out of there. I had to replace 5 water heaters in 6 months out of 2 properties back in the day.
Why are they stealing them? Just to hawk them or? Yeah,
because there's a slumlord down the road that's willing to pay him $80 for a water heater.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was wild. It was absolutely wild. I mean, because I was a 17, 18-year-old Brentwood kid that just, it's like, oh, I should probably start looking at buying properties. And then, I'm in North Nashville and East Nashville. And there was this one crackhead guy named Snake. And Snake, everyone goes by street names up there. And so I asked Snake one day, I said, Snake, I need a street name. Everyone's got a street name. Give me a street name. And he goes, all right, how about this? We'll call you Reptile because snakes and reptiles, they go together. Mm-hmm. I said, oh, that's sounds sound
not
reasoning.
Not as menacing as snake, though.
Yeah.
Well,
I was wearing a Remington hat, the hunting hat with the R on it. And he goes, all right, reptile, that's your name. But with a Y. It was reptile with a Y. And so, yeah, they called me reptile for the longest time. Yeah.
That's great.
Wild stories. And then there's this borderline homeless guy named John. Fascinating guy. I mean, he just came up to me one day and said, hey, you looking for some work? And I said, yeah, tear it up. And he was, I don't know, he was probably 5'9", maybe 110 pounds, just emaciated looking guy. But he became a family friend of ours.
Nice.
I mean, he grew up in Franklin. He went in the Navy and then worked for the oil companies in the 80s off of the coast of Louisiana, and he was an underwater welder. And he did the deepest recorded dive in the Gulf of Mexico for a sustained period of time in a compressed environment. So it was 30 days living in a bell down 1,000 feet down, and he'd go out on a 12-hour shift and switch with the guy. And for 30 days, they would do that. 12
hours scuba diving
and welding
underneath the...
Yep. And then going back to your compressed environment. And so, he's making $1,000 a day doing that back in the 80s. But the problem is if anyone ever wronged him, you don't want to do that. So that's why he can never hold a job, essentially. But the craziest stories I've had with the people that I've met down there, and he would come to Thanksgiving at our house. He actually redid my parents' kitchen. But yeah, great. Just the people that I've met in this, in my time in property management are quite fun. It's never been boring, put it that way.
No kidding.
Wild.
So I would imagine that maybe even being underwater all that time,
probably made him crazy.
Yeah, it's got to do something to the mental acuity. And
I never thought about that, but you're probably right.
I mean, 30 days down in a compressed environment. I mean, how big is a bell? I mean,
I don't know. It's probably about half the size of this room, probably quarter the size of this room, I think.
30 days in something, you're either in the darkness of the deep, because I don't think that 1,000 feet, you're not getting sunlight down there.
No, it's you're past so many thermoclines. For normal scuba diving, it's what is it, 70 feet or something like that, and then tech diving's 120.
Dude, I go 10 feet into a pool and my ears start hurting.
Oh yeah, you got to equalize.
Yeah,
got to equalize. But that's why you're in that compressed environment for so long, as so you don't have to be compressing and decompressing all the time, because that's how you get the bends.
Yeah.
So, but he's had the bends. He told me it was 7 or 8 times he's had the bends. Just crazy. And you'd think, it's just a homeless guy on the street.
Yeah.
And but I was going to write
stories.
Crazy stories. Yeah. I mean, I was going to write a book about him and call it the Book of John. One of these days. I've got so many stories with him. But yeah, it was a lot of fun in East Nashville, North Nashville back in. Yeah, that was 2008 to 2012, I think, is when I sold them all, because I couldn't take the vandalism anymore. I mean, constant vandalism. And so on paper.
This is before the gentrification of East Nashville.
It just started. Just started. And I sold it a year too soon. Because my grandmother calls it my Princeton University education in real estate. Is because I bought the house $17,000, $15,000, and then I just couldn't take the vandalism anymore. So I'm like, you know what? Just have an auction. And so we sold both of them for $50,000. And then a year later, the ones on Seaver Street, the ones that were next door to each other.
Right.
And then sold them both for $50,000. And the next year, that's when they were selling for $250,000 a pop.
Yeah.
So I held on for one more year. That would have been better. But yeah, that was a fun one.
And what year was that?
I think 2012 is when I sold those.
Okay. So right before everything started rip-roaring taking off.
Yeah, I held on to the other one in East Nashville for a while, and that one paid off really well. But because I think I paid $34 for it and sold it for $178 or something like that.
Yeah, I would say so.
But yeah, that was a good one to hold on to. But gosh, I learned my lesson on that. But going through that really seasons your expertise in the real estate industry. And
at that age, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, getting your license in the worst time in 40 years to buy a house. I mean, well, shoot, since 29 probably. I mean, this is the worst downturn we've had in our economy since that probably. But I'm grateful I got my real estate license in that time, because I had a healthy respect for beware of the good times because the bad times are going to come.
Right.
The market is never going to constantly go up. And when we were managing properties back then, so many people call up with bankruptcies. So many people call up, or foreclosures, or all that kind of, so many of them. And then it died off 2012, 13, 14. There weren't any of that anymore. But you see a lot of real estate agents that get into the business when it's good. It's that's the big joke in town that
they're the laggards.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they get into sales and they become the expert, and then they have no idea what to do when the market turns. So you got to be prepared.
The last decade certainly produced a lot of overconfident people.
Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of business in general, you look at the amount of gurus, quote unquote. I know people that proclaim to be business experts, but all they seem to do is go to conventions.
Yeah.
Where they all get together and listen to people speak and stuff like that, and they're quote networking. But I'm like, what is it that you do exactly? I don't know. I don't know what you do. Are you just someone who talks about going to conventions? Is there money in that? It seems to be going on a lot. Do you follow any people like that? Who's the legit people versus the non-legit people? Let's name some names.
Legit people versus non-legit people.
Well, you got Cardone out there. I'm sure you're familiar with him.
Let me think about that.
Do you know who he is? Grant Cardone?
Yeah. I don't, the thing is, I don't really follow.
Because he does a syndication.
Yeah. Real estate people, I really don't follow.
Really?
No, I don't. I'm constantly focusing on my business and what's going on in the market here and solving problems, solving problems, that when I'm listening to podcasts, it's, I listen to some property management ones and stuff like that, but mostly it's just, like you said, the conspiracy theories are always fun. That's what I just love to listen to a lot of, like I said, a lot of Joe Rogan podcasts, because there's just really interesting people to talk to. And so after I'm studying property management in Nashville, what's going on, I've got to unwind with a little nonsensical things, who built the pyramids and all that. It's always fun.
I have my conspiracy theory. I'm going to create one.
Yeah, let's do it.
Circling back around to the initial question, I'm going to say that gold and silver are just a means to distract you from the item of real wealth, which is aluminum.
I've never heard that one.
I know.
Aluminium.
I just made it up.
Oh,
yeah.
Well,
that's the question. We have to make one up.
Yeah. Well, if you say it, if you pronounce it aluminium,
I'm going to start that secret conspiracy right now.
You should do that. Yeah. I'd buy into it. All you have to do is just start one and keep it long enough.
Start stocking up on your Reynolds wrap.
Well, yeah, you can't build aircraft out of gold.
You probably could. Just how good is it going to be?
Yeah,
it's going to be heavy.
Be really heavy. That would have been good on the James Bond. Goldfinger. Yeah, that would have been good. Good villain plane.
Was that a terrific movie?
That was great.
Yeah.
1970.
How great was it, Trump?
Oh, it was one of the, Dr. No, obviously. Dr. No was probably the best. Sean Connery. Sean Connery was the best one. Roger Moore could get with that. He's fine. Pierce Brosnan, one of the best, but I think Sean Connery, everyone talks about Sean Connery. Everyone is.
Dude, that's friggin' perfect.
Does your garage door sound like this? If it does, it's screaming for help. Call Incredible Doors, 931-348-DOOR. We're making garage doors in Murray and Williamson counties work better and sound better. We just make them incredible again. Go to IncredibleDoors.com or call 931-348-DOOR. Follow us on Facebook for specials on maintenance visits, keypads, and other items. 931-348-DOOR. IncredibleDoors.com.
We got to get you out there.
I need to get a wig.
Dude, you got to, I'm serious. You got to just kind of start, you might as well make hay while it's, the sun's out.
Yeah. Shane Gillis, though, he's, oh my gosh, when him and, Steve Ray, when they do their Kill Tony, things that they do, and when they've got Trump and Biden together, it's one of the funniest acts. It's one of the funniest acts you could possibly see.
See, and I'm so, I guess daft. I don't pick up on these things. I listen to Trump, but I don't know, like listening to you now, I can kind of get it down and, you know, but I always like start falling back into Christopher Walken or Dracula for some reason. And I can't remember. It was Russian. When I try to do a Russian accent, and Diana, I tell you Americans, I start sounding like Dracula after a while.
Oh, that's fun.
Well, I can't commit to like an accent. If it's British, it's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, to commit to something like that, Walken's the only one I was able to like just embody the character.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. Well, he's also tough to do. You have to hit those. You gotta hit those pauses.
You really got to get the pauses,
right,
and the whisper.
But British people are fun to have fun with because we're the underclass.
Yeah.
Us and the Australians, and we were actually at a wedding. In London, October 23, I think. Buddy of mine was getting married, and I love cultures. Yeah. I love studying cultures. I love the food. I love the history and all that kind of stuff. And at the end of the night, I was sitting at this table with this one guy who was in the British Army, and he was in a building that got blown up by the IRA in the 70s. And so really interesting guy to talk to. And we were BSing about this and that and drinking. And he's like, don't listen to this chap right here. He's a bloody American, bloody Yank. And I said, let me remind you, sir, if it wasn't for us, you'd be speaking German right now. And they all laughed and had a good time with that one. And so I just love to give it back to him a little bit. It's a lot of fun.
Well, that was a good, there's a lot of character voices there for sure.
But we got them. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can do Russian too.
Russian is, I can kind of do the Russian if I really want to, but again, you hear the Dracula coming out.
Right. Yeah.
It always reverts to Dracula.
Yeah. That's Romania.
Yeah. Romania.
Yeah. Let's see. Russian. Let's see. I will manage property. Do not ask question. You do not need to ask question about how I manage property. Yeah, don't worry about it. I will send tenant to Gulag. Yeah, there we go.
That's really good.
There you go.
There you go. Christopher Walken meets, Yakov Smirnoff.
Well, I was thinking about, because I do have a Russian Red Army like fur hat with the emblem on it. And I was trying to figure out how I could tie that into my BNI presentations, being a Soviet soldier, but I've got to polish that one a little bit. I don't know where I would be going with that one.
Yeah, being the fact that you have, you're essentially traded for wheat, you have the same kind of story that Gary Vaynerchuk has. I don't know if you know who he is. Gary V.
Oh, Gary V.
Yeah. So he basically came to the country when he was 2 or 3 years old. From outside of the Ukraine. It's one of the Eastern Bloc countries that were created after the fall of the Soviet Union.
Oh, Belarus. Yeah, there's a few. Oh, Belarus. Okay. Oh,
so he came from Belarus, had the immigrant approach to this country, saw the possibility that those of us who were born here take for granted and quite honestly don't see for ourselves. I'm late in life seeing the opportunity that we have. So he saw it from a very young age and started developing his persona. He says he would rip out people's flowers in their garden and ring the doorbell and sell it back to them. He says, as dishonest as it was, my father kind of got a hold of me and said, no, you don't do that. If you're going to do this, make it legit and your word is bond.
Yeah.
So he started doing like lemonade stands, I guess, and iced tea stands, but he started scaling it. So instead of having one, he'd put a buddy in one and open one, another one. And he says, like, I was like a little Tony Soprano going around on my big wheel.
Oh, Tony Soprano. Yeah.
You will respect me.
Yeah. That's Sopranos. I've seen that show 24 times all the way through.
That's a great show.
One of my favorites.
Yes.
Well, the writing was so deep.
Yeah.
David Chase. I watched that show and there's something you get out of it every time. Oh, love The Sopranos.
It's so subtle and brilliantly written. And it reminded us of where we grew up because we didn't start watching it until we moved to Vegas in 2001. And The Sopranos came out in 99, I want to say. So at my first radio job in Connecticut, it was huge, but I didn't really get into it until we moved to Vegas. And all of a sudden you longed for the scenery of going down the New Jersey Turnpike and seeing the Twin Towers. That was my childhood, man.
Also what they captured was that third generation immigrant and how they still would hear stories from the old country, from the grandparents, and they're trying to pass on that appreciation to their children, the fourth generation. And I can kind of see that. Cause I mean, my grandmother, who was born in China, she was born in China, but my dad would get stories from the old country from his grandfather. And so I could relate to the show that way, because it's just, you're trying to have an appreciation for your heritage and everything they did and coming to this country. And every that's a deep thing in this country is when they first got here and their communities and how they supported each other and all of that. So it connects with a lot of people.
Do you really believe that we can learn from history?
Yeah,
really?
We better. Well, learn and understand. I guess those are.
I think we
things.
Learn. My theory has always been based on the book behind me. You see it here we go. You see my thumb pointing to it. It's called Pendulum. You should read it. And it basically talks a lot about that. Why do we do the things we do, first and foremost? It was written by a bunch of people from an organization called the Wizard Academy. The guy who wrote the book, or one of the authors, wrote a trilogy of books in the late 90s for marketing guys like myself who were in radio, how to write a really good ad. So he had the Wizard of Ads trilogy of books that came out, put him on the map. He started a nonprofit business school in Austin, Texas. It's an amazing place to go. I strongly suggest it. wizardacademy.org. Check it out. But they, being that he also was a marketing advertising agency, they would write a lot of ads for people and figure out what was going to move people and what the hot buttons were. And he says, all of a sudden, one day or 1 year, what they were writing that year was vastly getting different performance KPIs back from the previous year. So like, what happened? And that book explores the whole 40-year and 80-year swings of society and the attitudes and how it literally is cyclical,
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, go back to the 1920s, or, the Gilded Age, followed by the collapse, 29 to, if one of the, it's such a important thing is to, learn history, but to also understand it and recognize it when it comes around again. Cause like we talked about, when my great grandfather wrote his book about fleeing the Soviet Union, you can see when they took my land away, it was because of social justice.
Yeah.
And you can, that history does repeat itself. And that's why it's good to be vigilant and also be, check out what are we ultimately trying to accomplish with what we're doing. But yeah, you got to be a student of history. Absolutely.
Well, according to you absolutely, but doesn't mean we're not going to repeat it. Like one of the guys who's been on the podcast several times, his name is Brad Lee. He wrote a book called The Hard Way on how he built his business. And here are all the things, all the trials I went through, so you don't have to kind of approach. My contention with that is that, I love it. We read the book and stuff like that. Doesn't mean you're not going to repeat it.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what it felt like for our grandparents to go through 4 years of World War II when our country was involved. We have no idea.
Yeah.
We have no idea what it felt like, wondering, are we going to be speaking Japanese or German? Mm-hmm. We have no idea the outcome of this thing. And it is terrifying.
That's been happening since the beginning of time.
Right.
I mean,
we can look back on it, understanding the outcome, but imagine living through it.
Yeah. Oh, right. And then if you want to talk about interesting thing, maybe those certain fears or whatever could get passed down genetically.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a interesting, I can't remember which study it was, but like survivors of the Holocaust had a certain fear, phobia, whatever that was passed down to to their offspring, which was pretty interesting. But yeah. I can't remember where I read that. It's probably not even true, but I don't know.
That book was based off of other books. One was called Generations, written by two authors. Their name is Strauss and Howe. One of them's still alive, I believe. He was just on Tony Robbins' podcast.
Oh, really?
Amazing insight. But he wrote Generations, and then he followed up with a book called The Fourth Turning. And in Generations, they talk about the four turnings of culture and society taking place over about an 80-year span.
That makes sense.
It's crazy, dude. When you start looking into this book here, they take it back 3,000 years.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, real estate also is on 20-year cycles. Like neighborhoods are statistically on 20-year cycles. So it's interesting how that would parallel civilization as well. Huh.
Well, like, what do they call that? A-list country stars or rock stars, 20-year cycles. It's typically a 20-year run.
That's interesting.
Look at Tim McGraw's, the Faith Hills, Toby Keith's, all those guys, about a 20-year run. It's about as long as they have, unless they reinvent themselves.
I'd get burned out by then.
You have to think after 20 years of doing what they're doing. Yeah.
Just enjoy your wealth.
Yeah. The accoutrements, the buses, the planes better be getting better because that can get old.
Yeah.
After a while.
That'd be tough.
But I always say, according to the book, we are going through, 2023 was like 1943 all over again, but without a calamity. Unless we want to say COVID was some sort of a social calamity, like a violent calamity has to happen in order to reset everything. And if you go back 80 years, it was World War II. Mm-hmm. 80 years before that, it was the Civil War. 80 years before that, it was the Revolutionary War. It's like freaking clockwork.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
Kind of like, okay, what's got to happen now? Because we're at that time again.
Yeah. I mean,
and it's funny you brought up your grandparents coming over here, right?
Yeah, my great-grandparents.
Great-grandparents. And then, you're close to that. You saw, you didn't know them, I'm sure, did you?
I mean, no, I think I was 3 or 4 when when Grandpa Isaac died, but
you at least had 2 degrees.
Oh, we were close. I mean, our extended family was always together for Easter and Christmas, and we would always go to each other's houses to help pack fruit and things like that. So we were close, and you hear all the uncles talk, you hear Grandpa talk, and so you hear the stories firsthand through just sitting around BSing around dinner, and so I always listened. I always found that interesting. I've always loved history ever since I was a kid. So that, plus when it applies to yourself, it's interesting. Plus, or even I did the 23andMe thing back before they went bankrupt. And you could see how the generations went from the Netherlands to Eastern Germany, Prussia at the time, through Kharkiv in Western or Eastern Ukraine to Southern Russia. You can literally see the blue countries where you were from along the way. And it just validates your own personal history, which is fun. But yeah, I don't know.
I did it and I found out I was 40% Jewish.
Did you really?
Didn't see that one coming.
Oh, well, l'chaim.
There you go. And then it came from my mother's side, which both my brother and I looked at each other. Well, that makes sense. Because we didn't see it coming. We always thought we were Irish.
Oh,
and
really?
That's like the least amount of influence we have. Well, McCarthy,
Well, yeah, just I guess you could ask Freud. He said that the only people that were impervious to psychoanalysis were the Irish.
I find that funny, but I don't know why.
Yeah.
So getting into what you do, you started working in real estate once you pretty much got here to Tennessee with
17.
Cry-like. You had your hard lessons with at 17, 18 years old, which, dude, I mean, if I find somebody who's that age right now buying real, I'm like, dude, you're so far ahead than I am right now.
It was, we come from business people. And so all of my relatives were business owners, and no one worked for anyone. And that's just kind of the culture that I grew up in the Central Valley. Everyone was a business owner. Everyone was talking about the newest, latest, and greatest thing, right? And especially with fruit varieties, because a particular peach that's just not selling anymore. Well, sometimes those guys have to rip all those trees out and put new ones in.
Wow.
And then you got to wait 3 years for them to even start producing. So it's a lot of risk, but I've always found business people fascinating. I mean, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad when I was 12.
What'd you think of that?
It was the best.
No.
It was Rich Dad Poor Dad, Kiyosaki. I mean, that was a good one as a kid to realize what your options are out there.
Yeah. I read it when I was 26, 27.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a great one. Who Moved My Cheese was another one.
Kiyosaki made you think differently about the home you own.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everybody I tell, well, it's an asset. No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's a liability. What do you mean? First of all, you don't own it. As long as there are property taxes, you'll never own it. So it's a liability. It's a place for you to live.
Yeah.
You own the equity if you are fortunate enough to have any.
Well,
that's about it.
And if you're in London, you don't even own the land. You just own the building.
Yeah.
Because the king owns the land.
Mm-hmm. Are you pressed for time? Do you need to
No. My phone just always goes off.
Me too.
Constantly. Just have to make sure nothing's burning down. That's the biggest thing. Property rights are, especially being farmers and especially being vacated from the Soviet Union. Yeah, we value property rights.
And it's like, I want to ask you, but you're young. I mean, you're not even 40 yet.
No, just 37.
So, but you have the lineage of people who were in an oppressive situation, okay, 2-3 degrees removed.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And what about what's happening today is concerning to you?
So, how casual we are with leftist politics.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've listened to Yuri Bezmenov at all.
Mm-hmm. Never heard of him.
He was an interesting guy. He defected from the Soviet Union in the late 1960s, I believe. And it's on YouTube. You can watch it. But he gives speeches. He was giving a speech in 1984 about how the Soviet Union strategy behind taking over a country was to do it from within, not with physical wars, but through indoctrination through the school systems.
Right.
And he says it's a 20-year thing, but I can't remember the exact steps, but there's like 3 steps that took 20 years each.
20 years, you say?
Like you say. Yep, there you go. Yeah. And the first one was demoralization. So you have to demoralize the country. And then there has to be usually a social justice issue that happens. And then that's their foothold in order to gain power. And then the third one is when the actual bad people get in charge, and then they kill all of what he called the useful idiots.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the KGB's methodology on disrupt or trying to take over different countries is through idealistic things. And coming from California as well, it's just different living in Tennessee. I mean, our taxes, we don't have state income tax here.
Right.
In California, you get taxed for everything.
Yeah.
And, we're getting a lot of my clients are people that have property in California that, they want to reinvest in Tennessee just because, we have more rights as landlords. We have, you have more power, more property rights, I guess you can say. So, seeing both worlds, it's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting.
It is interesting. The only thing that, was it in that time in the late 1800s, early 1900s, it was Lenin in the Soviet Union.
Yeah, Lenin was. He was one of the originals. So what? 1917,
right?
1918. Yeah,
and then came Stalin.
Yeah, Stalin was. Yeah, he was World War II.
And then that bred people like Hitler. Because I want to say even like Stalin exterminated more people than Hitler.
Oh, yeah. Stalin was way worse.
Yeah. But Hitler gets all the focus because who ended up going and shaping the media industry from there on.
Yeah.
That's my take on it. And I'm 40%, so I can say it. It's one of those things that it's interesting to see how these kind of things play out because in Germany, the one thing that they're not able to do here yet is disarm the citizens. That's a big factor.
Yep.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
And I know they've tried to make ways to do that, but it's like you're going to tell a country of almost 400 million people, 380, 390 million people, a lot of which are gun owners, to hand them over.
Yep. Not going to happen.
Right.
And because, I mean, a lot of the argument, especially with I heard a lot during the previous administration when they were talking about the Second Amendment. Well, you don't need an AR-15 to hunt deer.
Right.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
I'm not hunting deer with an AR-15. The Second Amendment is there to support the First Amendment.
Right.
And I mean, in California, we didn't have, we could only have 10-round mags. Then you've seen like AR-15, any type of semi-automatic rifle. They just look pretty interesting with the workarounds like on the stocks to make them legal. And it's so many different laws. And then you come here and they're just like, yeah, we don't need any, Governor Lee, 5 years, I can't even remember how many years ago, but I mean, we became a constitutional carry state. Like, it's just interesting to live in two different places and see the difference, the Second Amendment rights. So, I mean, cause again, coming where we were at in California, it was all farmers. So we all had guns.
Yeah.
We had to defend our property. I mean, there's been times where there'd be guys, we had, big 500-gallon drums of diesel and gas for the tractors. And, you'd get people robbing you at night, stealing your gas. And because the dog starts barking and Dad wakes me up and says, all right, it's time to go.
Yeah.
And I'm
going to go hunting.
Yeah. So I'm 12 years old and I grabbed a Mini 14 and I'm going around the back of the shed. Dad's going around this side and they take off. Then I'm jumping in the back of the truck, chasing people 90 miles an hour down the road with my dad driving.
It's like a scene from Yellowstone.
Wild. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, we were in the county. So, I mean, if you're trying to get a sheriff's deputy over there, it's 45 minutes away.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm surprised to find out how red Paso Robles kind of is.
Oh, yeah.
Like those cities that you would think otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems there's definitely a shift happening in that state. I mean, even, we brought him up before. Grant Cardone apparently he wants to make a gubernatorial run in that state. Even saying to Gavin Newsom, look, I'll come on your podcast. Let's do it.
Yep.
And whether or not it happens, I'll listen to that one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we had Ronald Reagan came out of California.
Mm-hmm. It was very red once upon a time.
Yeah, it was. My grandfather has a picture of him and Reagan shaking hands, and that was his proudest moment of his entire life. And but I mean, we had Schwarzenegger as well. He's more of a rhino, but we had him there too. So it's just people have to get fed up enough and not
That's
fed
the
up
thing.
enough. Yeah,
Isn't that crazy? The founding fathers started an entire country based off of being pissed off about a 2% tax.
Yeah, 1% tax. Yeah, that's so funny to me.
It's like we are being taxed to the hilt. And I always make the whole property tax thing, I bring it up from time to time. And typically if I clip it out, it goes viral because all the people start chiming in with, well, what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to fund the fire department? No, I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, guy. Okay, you're not hearing what I'm saying. There are ways to collect taxes to pay for basic societal needs, maintenance of streets and stuff like that. Property tax and income-based taxes and production-based taxes is not the best way.
What do you think of just a flat tax?
It's still consumption-based. I don't like consumption-based taxes.
So you want to go to more like the tariff? I like the tariff
just
model.
Freaking sales tax, man. I know what I'm going to spend. There's no reconciling with the government at the end of the year or on a certain day of the year where you are guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah.
I did a whole clip on the whole font that the IRS uses and how it's meant to intimidate.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The font is the whole nature of that organization is meant to intimidate you because you're guilty until proven innocent. You have to prove to us, you need to reconcile to us how much you owe to us and make sure that you get the number right. And if you're wrong, we're going to apply penalties and interest. Yeah, how messed up is it? What kind of business?
The mafia runs that way.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the federal mafia and everyone is okay with it. And that's the thing is that like somebody comes along and says, oh, by the way, we know you own the house, but now we're instituting a property tax to help cover these basic elements of society here in town. And if you don't pay them, we're going to come take your house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Try not paying it because you're not going to you don't own your house.
Yeah.
You own nothing as long as that's in place.
Yeah. Probably. Well, I mean,
if you can't tell, it pisses me off.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't like property taxes. That's good. At least they're cheap here.
It is. I give you that. But there are other ways to achieve it.
Yep.
I'd be all in favor of a national sales tax of a certain degree that we all get to, legitimately chime in on and adjust the rate if need be.
Yeah.
Okay. But as we're seeing, so many things are coming out of it that is, the waste.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, I don't like getting taxed on making money and then spending it.
Yeah.
Like, we need to figure that just the basics out with that because but once we figure out the waste, fraud, and abuse, then theoretically our taxes should not be as high.
Yeah.
And then we definitely need to figure out something else. I mean, I'm fine with having a strong military.
Yeah.
I'm fine with having the
highways,
infrastructure, all that. But even the argument that people use regarding the, say like the fire department, well, if you live in the county that doesn't have, there's some counties that you live in that you have to pay a fee or a membership fee almost to have fire department service at your house.
Yeah.
So that doesn't even help everyone else, but you're still paying property taxes. You're still doing all that.
Right.
So
you don't get the benefit.
No. So
those who homeschool versus, having the fun public schools.
Yeah. Talk about waste of time.
Yeah. It's it is interesting, and it's a definite rabbit hole we can go down. But yeah, here we are being taxed to the hilt, and nobody has had enough yet.
Yeah, I think because we see what could happen in Europe, because half of your income pretty much goes to the government, and
but it's free healthcare, man.
Oh yeah, and it's stellar too. Everyone raves about it. Everyone's talking about it, and they are. It's quite. Yeah, no thanks.
So, you do property management. Thanks for coming on. It was great to have you.
No, thanks again. Yeah, it's quite a good time.
Well, who are you looking for? And do you do any social media at all? You should.
Me personally, I've thought about it. I've got a marketing company that I hired that does my posts and stuff like that, but I need to.
Yeah.
I need to. Yeah.
Because Nick Woodard, one of my clients, and for podcasts, his podcast is the 615 podcast. Check it out. He's a realtor locally, and he puts his lifestyle up there, hunting, doing. You can definitely tell what side of the aisle he's on.
Okay.
He has attracted client base because of that.
Oh, gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I love people on both sides of the aisle because I've always been able to, I've never been not able to listen to someone's perspective because people come from all walks of life. And so I like to understand what people's perspectives are. Like I've got people on my team that are the complete opposite of what I am politically, but I'm fine with that because that keeps me in check too. So that way I don't get too crazy.
Right.
But I always like to have long conversations with people about different topics, but coming from a point of just, hey, let's talk about it because I'm really interested to see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's changed my perspective on things. So, I mean, I've just had my own life experiences coming from where we did and historically where we've come from in the past. But, as long as we don't, don't want to do another Soviet Union kind of a thing, that's not going to work. But I understand where people are coming from with social safety nets and what they'd like to have there regarding that. I get it.
It's going about an empathy-based conversation that's civil, where everybody can agree to disagree, and be okay with each other. We used to be able to do that.
Yeah,
I honestly think, based on the book Pendulum, which you can find all the information in the description, I always put it there because it's made a big impact on my life. Right about now is where typically the zeniths of either side of the pendulum swing are where we've taken a good thing too far. Typically a good thing starting out at the tipping point at the bottom of the pendulum. And it's about a 20-year upswing, 20-year downswing, 20-year. And either side is called a me or a we. So we just got through the zenith of a we, which in the total 80-year cycle is the most violent, darkest part of the pendulum swing. So anybody who's been living for the past decade can't deny that it's been kind of dark. We're at each other's throats.
It's terrible.
I'm okay, you're not okay.
Yeah, it's very much a dualistic mentality that we've succumbed to, and dualism is a very dangerous place to live in, because then you live in an echo chamber.
Right.
And if you live in an echo chamber and you can't listen to anyone else, well, then I am right, therefore you are wrong. Right. Well, that's not true, because we don't have it all figured out until we're dead. Right. So until then, let's be students of history and then talk about things. But to be violent, and that's happened since the beginning of time. The American Revolution, the French Revolution. We've had so many revolutions that were not peaceful. That's just part of it. It's just the way it goes. It's human civilization. It's what we do. And
I saw you pull up in a Tesla. Have you been harassed?
Not yet. So
you're counting on it.
Yeah. You never know. You never know. I don't know why people don't. We have Sentry mode, so your cameras are constantly operating, but no, we haven't. Middle Tennessee is
we're pretty chill.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
I think there's a lot of people with differing thoughts in this area, but I dare say that we're at least empathetic. One of the podcasts, another one I produce called Blue Lift, blueliftpodcast.com. She's a wonderful person. Her name is Peggy Kingsbury, but it's funny, as I'm getting to know her, Blue Lift is in its nature a left progressive voice lifting podcast, as they put it. But I'm getting to know her, she's in her mid 60s. I'm like, you and I are a lot more alike than we think. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things that you do agree with, and we're starting to see a lot more commonality. Not like we're, completely at each other's throats or anything, because she's a client. I'm not going to really engage with her that way. So I just, every now and then we have conversations that are very civil. Yeah. I'm like, here's the reason why I think, why I don't care about all these different social issues that people, quite honestly, we have nothing bigger to worry about. So we're creating smaller things to worry about than making them bigger. I'm too busy trying to keep our heads above water, man.
Yeah.
I said, that's the problem with people with money, celebrities and such. They start losing purpose in life because what they do creates such an easy way to provide the basic needs that they have. Okay. I can go work for, 3-4 months making a movie, maybe a couple of months doing the promotional tours, all that stuff. And I've been paid, $10, $15, $20 million if you're an A-lister. Now I wake up every day. What does my life mean? I make a life, and my career is based off of pretending I'm other people, and I do it really well.
Yeah.
My life needs purpose. So now I have a soapbox I need to get on, and I'm going to tell the rest of the country how they need to live their life. And hopefully they're going to listen to me because I have influence and power and prestige and things of that nature. Meanwhile, there are people out there like me going, dude, I don't care.
Yeah.
I really don't, because what I do does not provide the basic needs to the extent and margin that yours does. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I remember, it's like what you're saying. I remember a few years ago when they had all these celebrities, doing a commercial, about the Iran nuclear deal. Mm-hmm. And it's like Jack Black, all these random actors and actresses. And they were just like, their whole thing was saying, it's going to be okay. And I was like, okay, but maybe we should research what's in the Iran nuclear deal versus just a bunch of actors saying it's going to be okay. So we'll find out.
We'll wrap things up and start landing the plane by saying, you do property management, you're in the real estate space and residential. Does it mean you're taking on clients who want to buy and sell real estate, or mainly clients who want to get into property ownership for the...
So I've got agents that work for us that primarily do the sales, because we're a regular real estate firm as well. So I've got agents that do that. My niche is with residential investment properties. So I deal with a lot of investors that want to buy rentals here in Middle Tennessee, or they are currently landlords in Middle Tennessee. And then my team will help and identify, because we'll scour the MLS. We'll find the properties that we like that cash flow the best, and we'll give them some, like, here's 1, 2, 3. We've analyzed the numbers. Here they are. And then we have a pulse, though, on what it'll rent for. Yeah. Because any real estate agent could sell a house and say it's going to rent for that. But if they've never rented a house before, and we're constantly renting houses all over the area, so we know what the market is, what it's doing. And so a lot of the investors, a lot of my clients are guys and gals that that want to buy residential rental properties. I really like townhouses because you don't have to worry about exterior maintenance, and they're really easy to unload if you need to. And then they're easy to rent because they're affordable. But we handle properties like that to, properties that are really large houses in Brentwood. So we handle the entire spectrum. But yeah, so that's what we do. It's a lot of number crunching. Well,
would you say you have a pretty accurate thumb or finger on the pulse of the real estate market here in Nashville?
Yeah, I mean,
based on what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. More so the rental market. I mean, but my primary, because we still have to represent them buying properties too. But
right,
I would say a real estate agent that sells a lot would be more in tune with what with the sales side of things. But
so you, like, in terms of your opinion on where we are. I think we're in a, not dare say like real estate bubble that we saw in 07, 08, but at least here locally, I think we're insulated pretty well.
We didn't get hit with the foreclosures in Middle Tennessee like we did the rest of the country.
Right.
We were pretty, I mean, comparatively.
Is that still the case though, you think?
Nashville's got a lot going for it.
Yeah.
And we have
a lot of people moving here.
A lot of people moving here, but we don't have all of our eggs in one basket. Like, oh, we're a GM city, or we're a college town, or something like that.
Diverse industries.
Yeah, we've got entertainment as well as business, as well as being centrally located. That's why FedEx is in Memphis, because you can get everywhere really fast. And then we have we don't have state income tax, which is also really attractive to people. But I call Nashville the Los Angeles of the South.
Interesting you say that.
Yeah. It's just got a lot going there. So people,
I feel like Los Angeles is moving here.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, you see Atlanta, Georgia, the state being the next big film production culture,
cheap,
I guess. But why not Tennessee?
That's a really interesting. Yeah, I don't know why not. I mean, it's since the market is slowing down, it's going to be more attractive real estate prices and things like this. But
with the wildfires that happen out in California, they're not going to be able to rebuild the way they did.
I read that they've in the Pacific Palisades that they approved like 4 permits to build.
4 out of how many that were there?
Oh, thousands. Yeah. I mean, but 4 because the argument was it usually takes a year to 18 months to get an approval to get a permit, and so just be grateful.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, they were supposed to be expediting all that.
Yeah, so they got 4 now.
That's what we mean, guys. This is expedited.
Yeah, there you go.
So I would imagine a lot of these people, that lost their properties, your hearts break for them.
And they're underinsured. A lot of them are underinsured.
I mean, it's at that point, I guess it becomes a big tax write-off while we have an income tax and an IRS. What do they do? Are they going to move here?
I think a lot of people are moving to Texas. Austin's a big one. A lot of people, Texas, Arizona, and Nashville, Florida even. I mean, if you're not afraid of the hurricanes down there.
Is Vegas still kind of a hot spot, you think?
I don't know. I know they got hit bad in 2008, but
we got out just in time.
Oh yeah, you were saying that. That's right.
We bought our first property there in 2002.
Oh.
And it doubled in price by the time we sold it in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we went and checked on it right around that happened in 2007. It might have been 2009. Yeah, that same property was, half of what we paid for it.
Yep. Yeah. And, that was a tough one, but living through that, it doesn't last forever. I learned that it's the market will come around again, but, the real estate, you have to ride the waves right in order to make money in it. And, when it's down, like if we're getting into a down market, that's when you buy. That's when you buy everything.
Blood in the streets.
Yeah, that's when you want to do it. And
buy that friggin' BTFD.
Yeah.
As the crypto bros say. Are you a crypto guy?
I'm not. I was actually there's a crypto place in Cool Springs right by Golf Galaxy. I was going to go check that place out.
Just to find out certain things. What do you need to know? I've done it for about 2.5, 3 years now.
Do you like it?
I am an expert, level 100.
You like it?
I do.
All right.
Because it's the first time I've ever invested in something that's actually paid off.
Oh, that's good.
So, yeah. And it was completely by accident.
Oh, yeah.
I was just looking into it. I had some extra money and I swiped and all of a sudden the money went in. Okay.
Yeah, that scares me a little. I'm such a real estate guy because it's tangible.
Right.
I can go see it. I can control. The other thing about real estate I like is monthly cash flow.
Yeah. Asset appreciation and cash flow.
Appreciation, cash flow, and also you can the depreciation as well for your taxes too. People don't look into that as when they're looking at a rental property, but you can depreciate these things quite a bit, and that can really go towards the bottom line if that's what you want to do. But
well, there you go. How do people find and follow you and Richland Real Estate Services?
Our website is just richlandnashville.com. And you can find all of our information there. We have different management packages, and you can poke around and see which management package works for you. But I always like to call us. We're not about volume because I've got investors that we're really close with, and they can text us and call us. It's not like a big call center. We're all about the doors. We like to have good quality properties here that we know that we can manage really effectively. And so we're like a mom and pop shop with modern technology is what I like to say.
There you go. And, President Trump, what did you think of being on the podcast today?
Not bad. I love your facilities. I think they're great. I can't even anymore.
Dude, it's
I ran out of gas
perfect.
on that one.
It's perfect. I'm sorry I keep on pressing you for that, but I'm gonna. Because it's so damn good.
Corn Pop was a bad dude.
Well, there you go. Check us out on mmtbp.com is our website. If you found value in this podcast episode, tell people about it. A 5-star rating will suffice. Or if you want to roast us and insult us or tell me what's wrong, I'm okay with that too. But as long as you give a 5-star review to go along with it. So you can roast us for a 5-star or just give us a 5-star. Try not to do anything else. Or just, email me directly. You can actually find all the contact information at mmtbp.com. We have a link there to be on the podcast. You can fill out a form. We do get it. We do respond. Check it all out right there. The Mostly Middle Tennessee Business Podcast.com is another way to get us as well. Jared, first time really sitting down and talking with you.
Yeah, this
I
is fun.
enjoyed it. We'll have to do it again sometime.
I'm right around the corner, brother. Just let me know.
Nice.